How are we today? I wanted to come in and do this quick video because I'm really passionate about being able to share some of the, well, not so much share with you what's happening, but also, I'm going to start that again. I wanted to share with you what is actually happening out there energetically to give you guys some heads up and share with you some tips on what you can do to help achieve that rapid transformation. Because right now, at this current time, we are in a time of doing a lot of deep inner soul work, which is about letting go, surrendering, clearing up any of our old baggage, because it's all about the weight that it consumes, how much it holds us down on a physical and mental, emotional, and spiritual and soul level when we are filled with so much emotional baggage. This is a time of being able to learn how to cultivate that inner mastery, which is about recognizing when you may be getting stuck in those negative spirals and knowing how to move through those lower emotional states that we're in. Hello, gorgeous. Let me know who is on. And we're going to keep going. So again, as I was saying, we are in a rapid time of where our soul is encouraging us to do a lot of clearing and healing. In order for us to be able to be in a state of preparation for next year, which is around absolute massive rapid manifestation, but in order to get to manifestation, we need to be able to clear and make space for that. So you'll be recognizing some of the ways in which this is happening in the soul communication, because your intuition will communicate to you on bringing up memories. It could be bringing up old stories, experiences, triggers, things that activate you that are connected to old pain points in our world. And every single person every single person that walks this earth has these things. There's no such thing as this absolute clear vessel that doesn't have something to work on. We all do, because that's a part of our evolution of growth. If we had healed and transformed everything, there would be no reason for us to be here, because a part of our journey is our evolution of growth, and the greatest growth that we do is through the experience that sometimes are triggered by pain points. It's about what we learn through those experiences, what we learn about ourselves. Because everything is about bringing us back to being able to understand, who am I? And we are not the version of self that is completely surrounded by pain points. There is a version of self that first came into carnation in this world that was them in their most purest form, I would say, is probably not even sure if that's the right word, but it's like that version of self that came through, that was curious to explore the world, that was on an exploration journey. And then through our journey up until the age of 8, we stay in the most clearest forms of self and most highly attuned to our intuition. But after the age of 8, we start becoming bombarded by family stories, the news, emotions of others, dramas, attaching on to limiting beliefs, but we don't know them at the time until we start developing and we get older. And before we know it, we get to a certain time in our life where all we are is an accumulation of trying to decipher what's a positive belief that I hold in store, but what are also my negative ones, and how do I develop a deeper understanding on how I need to be able to clear that, rather than taking it on as a form of judgment and berating yourself for having developed these limiting beliefs. And the beliefs that you have today may alter and change and shift and evolve as you go along that journey. So it's so important to understand is to remove the judgment. But what I wanted to come in and share around, being able to cultivate that rapid transformation is to be able to understand that there are two main factors that come into that can be a potential block for you when you go in and do this awesome soul work, which is the soul work is exploring, diving in deeper, seeing what is underneath the stories, the limitations, the beliefs, the pain points, the trauma, and being able to make sure that we're diving into the actual core of it. Because if we dance around the superficial layers, that's where it becomes exhausting, because we're just like dealing with that trauma from that perspective, then this perspective, and then that perspective, and it's exhausting. Whereas we want to be able to get straight to where is the actual core of the problem, work on that, and then the rest of the superficial layers dissolve and transmute from there. So it's so much more powerful, and it means that we can have that rapid transformation quickly. But the two things I wanted to share with you is whenever we think about healings, clearings, transformation, we always hear the connection of these two words, which is letting go and surrendering. And that is what I really wanted to come in and clear up today. Most of the times we think about it as I either have to let go of something or I have to surrender something. And we can sometimes not always understand, well, really, what is the difference between letting go and surrendering? And that is what I wanted to be able to share with you in order for you to be able to understand the process through the transformational journey. Surrendering is usually identified on the human aspect of self. Whenever we want to do some deep transformational work or some soul work, whatever it is, the language that you use, we're always going to be butted up against a resistance. And the resistance is the ego part within ourselves. And I do want to share with this, there are two types of egos. There's a positive aspect of ego that sits there and goes, I can fucking do this. I can do anything. Anything is possible. And it catapults you forward to take action and believe in yourself and stay strong and stay motivated until the end. Now, that's an awesome part of ego. The other part of ego is where your ego starts to see that you're wanting to expand and grow, which means you're outgrowing those limitations because you're going to challenge them, and therefore hits a ceiling like a resistance, and you keep butting your head up and keep thinking to yourself, oh my God, why do I have to keep examining this? But it's because the ego hits that point of resistance and the human part goes, now, what about this fear? What about that problem? What about that doubt? What happens if you open up something that you're afraid of? What happens if, you do some work with someone and it actually makes it worse? And we think of every worst case scenario and we talk ourselves out of actually continuing on and breaking through that resistance barrier or that glass ceiling, which on the other side of that is where that expansion is, because that's where you go in and explore. But if you are hitting that glass ceiling because the human aspect of the ego wants to keep you in a confined space, it's designed to do that. The ego has been developed. One aspect is to keep you protected and safe. So if it sees you moving outside of that, it sees that as you're moving into uncharted territory, so it's going to want to keep you there. So resistance is about being able to understand, surrendering is about acknowledging the resistance that you are going to be met from the human component of the mind. And it will show you every ounce of evidence where things went wrong. And it's designed to do that. But what we want to do is we want to retrain it and go, I am safe and I am protected, and I'm going to move through that veil of the glass ceiling to where I meet expansion, which is where I can then go in and choose to let go. But a lot of the times we think, I need to let go first, I need to let go first, I need to let go first, when it's actually the surrendering process. Whenever you make that decision, I want to work on this, you're met by resistance. So that's where the surrendering comes into it. Surrendering to the fact that your mind is going to want to do this. Surrender to the fact that your ego is going to come in and want to keep you confined. But when you have a deeper understanding as to why it's doing that, you can then surrender again the resistance to want to get into a tirade of a mind fuck going back and forward, back and forward. And once we move through that resistance and we let go of that desire to want to conform, to fight with our mind, to justify everything and talk ourselves out of it and exhaust ourselves in the process, when we reach that point of acknowledging that you are elevating into new levels, is when we move through that glass ceiling, hit that level of expansion, and are open and ready and available to be able to let go of the traumas and the pain points. But if you try and flip it around the other way, it's not going to work, because you're going to try and let go and you're going to get stuck in the argument between self, and usually then move again back into that spiral of negative emotions and thought processes and patterns, and that will again just keep you in that stuck area. And therefore we get really exhausted going, I really want to clear this, but why do I keep getting stuck? It's because sometimes we're doing the process around the wrong way, because we don't understand the difference between surrendering and letting go, and how to be able to work with them. Now, the reason I wanted to share this with you is because, as I said, we're in an accelerated time and point in our life where we are actually being called upon to clear away all of this emotional baggage that we have, in order to be able to reach higher states within our own self, to be in a more lighter variation, and to be able to clear up our energetic frequency. Because wherever we have pain points established within our energetic vortex, it creates disruptions, distortions, and in some cases causes our energy to become wobbly, because it doesn't have any stable foundations in which to grow from. So by clearing away this creates a strengthening within our energetic vortex, to be able to make those huge transformational shifts and bring your energy field into a more of a congruency. And therefore, once it's stabilized, you're able to reach higher levels in every area of our life, and have the ability to keep it at a stability. But when we are going through like lower emotions and experiencing this wobbling effect through the instability of all the pain points stuck in your energy field, that too in itself, it can bring us to points of burnout. And yet the deeper desire of wanting to heal and transform these pain points, we start to think, is there something that I'm doing wrong? Or why is it that I can't finally clear this up, which is what I'm wanting to do? And it's important to understand that this is healing that's on a mind, body, soul, and spiritual level, on every single aspect of self. It's in your thoughts, it's in your actions, it's coming through going, oh my goodness, the other day I put a post out and said about, there used to be a time that I read hundreds and hundreds of books all the time. That's what's helped me learn the knowledge that I have today. But I got to a point where I was thinking to myself, man, I told myself once that when I start reading a book, I never put it down. Like, I can tell you many a times I've sat there cooking dinner with a book in my hand and I'm trying to do something, or my husband or my children would have been speaking to me and I had no idea what they were saying, but I just wait for the cues to be able to go, So I thought to myself, it was good on one level, but I was not actually being present. And I developed that belief system with that, that I had told myself that I was unable to just read for an hour and be happy with that and put the book down and know that I can pick it up an hour later when I've taken care of things. So I developed such a belief about it and joked about it. But then when I was thinking the other day to myself, wow, I just want to go and read a book, my first thought was, you can't ever put the book down. And I thought, wow, how easy it was to develop such a limiting belief. And we have these limitations in every area of our life. It can be, okay, I want to start exercising. Oh, I don't have the right shoes. Oh, I can never feel comfortable going to a gym. Gyms aren't for me. Oh, running isn't for me. Cycling isn't for me. And how would you know that unless you challenge it and actually go, well, I may not have liked it back then, but there's nothing to say that that could have changed now. Or if it is that I want to go to gyms, but they've not been for me, there are a multitude of different styles and types of gyms now. Maybe that just wasn't the right one for me then. And this is what I mean. Our thoughts are built up of so many multiple factors, on how you think, your belief systems, who you trust, the stories attached to it, your career, your family, your love life, your money, your health, your wellness, all of this. So you're going to find that all of these things come up into your consciousness over a variety of different areas of your life, because they're giving you an indication to let you know how what is stuck within your energetic vortex and what your soul is encouraging and supporting you right at this time to be able to clear that up. Now, we have also sometimes developed a belief system that says to do this rapid transformation needs to be such a dark time within ourselves that it's scary, that it may take me days afterwards to recalibrate to this. It's not necessarily always the case. Some of the things that are coming up into our consciousness are things that we can surrender and clear straight away, and other experience may require a little bit of deeper work. And this is where it's important to have fun through that healing process, because it is going to go on for the next 3 to 4, what are we now, November, so November, December, anywhere until right up to the end of January, so for the next 2 and a bit months. So we don't always want to put in that stipulation that I actually need to go and sit for an hour and meditate, or I need to be able to go off and do this. We want to be able to know that we can access tools to be able to clear some of the stuff that's really easy, and then also even have like a notepad and write down things that can take a little bit longer for you to actually do the healing work and plan for that. Oh, I know that in the evening I'm going to have an hour to myself. I've got an hour to myself and go and do some healing. This is what I'm actually going to focus on 100%. I'm going to explore this. So this is where it comes in so handy to be able to know how to be able to work with this, to be able to achieve that accelerated rapid transformation that everyone is wanting to achieve and have been urged so much by our soul, because it is bringing things up so much for us, because it actually wants us to be in full preparation mode, having done the soul work, so that you are ready for that opening that comes next year, when we move into, it's going to coincide with the Chinese New Year, so it's normally around the end of February, but I have a sneaky suspicion, but I'll check it out anyway, whether this year's Chinese New Year may actually fall at the end of January. But that's the dates that I keep hearing, is that come the end of January, that is when we need to have done all of the soul work, so that we are fully in a place of being in a incubator or receptive state where we have more capacity to hold greater amounts of more manifestations, because we have created that space for it. And not only when we do that healing work, excuse me, we elevate into higher levels where we're in a container where we can consume more of a higher vibration and be able to work with it without it creating distortions, because we've done the inner work leading up to this. So that's why you keep seeing me putting out energy clearing sessions, because this is something that I so deeply believe in, and I've been doing so much healing work on my own self around this as well, that I want to be able to provide a platform that if you feel like you require that additional support to be able to help you clear some of this stuff, that it's there and it's available for you. So if the energy clearing session is something that you really want to work with to be able to achieve that rapid transformation, it's a session is designed for you if you want to feel so deeply supported while you dive in and explore some of the energy blocks and unlock the story that you've attached to it and shift that into creating something that is more conducive and more in alignment with the direction that you want to go in. Rewriting our stories is so important, because when we have a trauma or an experience in our past, we've attached a story to it. And whenever we remove something, we need to be able to replace it. So we want to remove the story that we have attached to it, do the healing work around it, so that the next time when you have a look back at that time and point in your life, your mind is not going to be associated to the old BS story that's attached to limitation. It's now attached to, oh, from that time and point, X, Y, and Z happened. I'll give you an example. When I had my boat accident, for me at that initial point in time, and for quite some time, the story that I'd attached to it was guilt. shame, feeling embarrassed within my own self. And since I have done the work, now I have a look back at that time in my life and go, because of that, that stimulated me to be able to go on the quest to go looking for understanding about intuition. It was a promise I made to myself that I would stand true in my own power and start getting out there and sharing with people my gifts and my talents, because at that time there's no guarantee that I would be the person I am today without having had that. So now when I think back to those times, to that time of my life, it's not plagued by lower vibrating emotional states and shitty stories. It's now a story that is attached with empowerment and choices that have propelled me to be the person I am today. That is the difference between having powerful stories attached to negative experiences. But the energy clearing session will also help you to be able to access higher awareness, to be able to recognize when you may be getting stuck in those negative spirals that take you down into places that just generate unhappiness, and help you shift into the higher realms of your higher self and stay in that space, more in a space of recognition, recognizing when you're spiraling, stopping that process, and knowing how to recalibrate and bring yourself back into higher communications with yourself. And also on how to be able to reach levels of emotional freedom when revisiting the past, because you know that when you reminisce over memories, you've got those choices of having negative attachments attached to them or having empowering statements that move and catapult you forward. So if you feel like there is some deep connection and you'd love to do the energy clearing session to be able to accelerate this process, you'll find the link is written in the little blurb up on their page. And I'd love to be able to help you, especially if you're finding that you may be that person that's reaching that you're surrendering, but you're hitting that ceiling and not knowing how to be able to move through that so you can reach the level of expansion where you can then move on to the space of actually truly letting go. And that is also that point of being able to understand that a lot of the times when we do this healing work, there are certain times where sometimes we can do a lot of the work on our own, but there will be some times that we may not always give ourselves permission to explore deeper because the pain points associated to it. And so then we move into the space of being able to go, do I really want to share how I truly feel, or do I want to let people into my world and let them know how, traumas that I've carried through my life, and worry about whether they're going to judge me judging my own self. So it's important to recognize that if you keep hitting the ceiling, that's the time to invite other people to come in and support and help you, and refocus only on the outcome, which is wanting to achieve that rapid transformation, and knowing that you don't have to do this journey alone. That I think for me is something really powerful, when we can just give over to that fact of, again, that's a point of surrendering, being able to go, well, again, that's just a representation of a lower energy, a lower emotion, and that's my soul trying to keep me small. The way to move through that is surrendering that judgment of self, and then still choosing to move through and go, I'm going to 100% focus on the letting go process, and if that requires bringing someone in to support me at that time, then shall be it. So be it. I'm going to call in divine order, and that the right person will show up at the exact time for this to be able to occur. So if you feel like that's something that, as I said, resonates with you, the link is there. I'd love to be able to help support you. But if it's not, please take on board that this is a time where you are being called to do so much inner work, because there's a greater reason. And that transformation doesn't always look pretty. We think about transformation like, oh, I'm going to grow into this beautiful butterfly, and we do. That's the end result. But it's sometimes it's really messy, and sometimes it can be a little bit ugly, and sometimes it doesn't feel awesome. But keeping ourselves focused on the outcome, which is preparation, 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 and growth and evolution, then we're reminded that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And you are here on this time on earth because your soul is saying, we carry around so much baggage as humans, so much. And now it's time to lift that weight that is creating disruptions in my energy. And I want to remember who I was before I had all of these limitations and this baggage that I just don't want anymore. So I hope this guy offers some suggestions to you, and just know that you are here at this very given time for this process. We can either align with it and do the work, or we can resist it, and that will again only perpetuate the system and situation and keep you in those negative spirals and not being able to manifest as easily as what the process is designed to do, and which is the end result: healing, clearing, being at and learning to fine-tune your energy frequency and bringing that up into higher realms, so that when you can manifest, you're manifesting from the higher realms that have a clear channel, and being a clear conduit to be articulate, be able to articulate exactly what it is that you want, and know deep within your own self that it is going to show up. That is the difference. When we have those negative attachments, what happens is we do that manifestation and we feel good for a day or so, then all of a sudden a drama or an experience brings us into a fight or flight syndrome, or we are in trigger mode and activated by something, and therefore our manifestations become wobbly, and then we don't trust that they're going to show up. Then we stop believing in ourselves. Then all of a sudden things will clear up, and we'll start trusting, and we'll start seeing a few little signs that something will happen, bring us back down. So the road towards manifestation becomes this horrible wave of ups and downs, and it's exhausting. By the time what it is that we want to manifest shows up, sometimes we may not always experience that levels of gratitude, because it's freaking near burnt you out to get to that. That's why our soul is saying, do this work now. So it's almost like laser-like being able to go, this is what I want to manifest, and boom, almost like it just shows up so much more clearly, because that was what we were put on this earth and designed to do. We are manifesting machines, but it's because of all of the distortions and the baggage we've picked up that is creating a delineation between that speed of light of being able to manifest more quickly. So that is the reason why we are being encouraged, is to improve that manifestation process. But in order to get there, we have baggage that needs to be removed. So I hope this helps. Feel free, if you have any questions, to reach out. And yeah, I'd love if you want to book in a healing and clearing session with me. The link is there. I'd love to be able to do this with you. It's a recorded up to 90-minute session, and get to the root of your problem, and let's get this shit cleared for you. So take care, much love, look after you, and remember, the journey of healing doesn't need to be soul and gut wrenching. It can be fun, it can be enjoyable, but there's a much bigger reason for you to do this. Just tune in. Your intuition will guide you every single step of the way. It will provide you with the resources. It will provide you with the people. It will provide you with the tools in which to be able to help clear anything that comes into your awareness that is wanting to be released. So see you guys, have an awesome week, and I love how this also definitely connects in with this week's energy forecast, which is all around surrendering the old. So if you haven't gone in and listened to that, and that gives you the tips on how to be able to work through this week and stay in alignment with that process, feel free, the link is on the page, go in and check that out as well. So see you guys, and have an awesome week.